Some of you who visited my LinkedIn profile recently would know that I quit Microsoft to join Google back in April, which was the last remaining Infinity Stone penny on my Big 480 gauntlet. It was never actually a goal of mine to work at all of the big Tech 4 firms, but it is funny how life works out. But anyway, this job transition all went down during the middle of the pandemic, so I thought it would be kind of interesting to discuss what that experience has been like. Leaving a job is never fun, especially during a pandemic. See, this transition was far from ideal, but it's a move I've been planning for several months. I was hiring committee approved by Google months ago, but by the time I felt like I wrapped up everything I need to at Microsoft, it was already mid-April, which was right in the middle of the shelter-in-place order. Soon after, I gave a heads up to my manager via video conference, we worked out the details, and I sent my formal 2-week resignation notice. Now, Microsoft seems to have a company policy of escorting employees out within 24 hours or so when you're leaving to join a competitor, and Google's obviously one of them, and that's even if you gave a 2-week notice. Normally, the way this would work is they would send security over to your desk, ask you to collect your stuff, take your badge, and walk you out the building. But during this lockdown, since everybody's working from home, instead they sent security over to my house and then escorted me out of my home. That didn't actually happen. But they did give me a little bit more time to download whatever payroll-related documents I need digitally, asked me to either drop off or mail back the stuff I borrowed from the company, and that was it. Within 48 hours, I lost all my access to email and whatnot. So what about the process of joining Google? Because like with Microsoft, most people at Google are working from home right now. Well, a couple of weeks prior to my start date, I got an email asking me to fill out my address and which laptop I would like. And they said that they're going to ship it to me instead, since I can't show up at the office. Now, because of supply chain issues, they said that you might not actually get your laptop on your first day. And if you don't get your laptop, then you won't be able to have access to CorpNet. And if you don't have access to CorpNet, then you won't be able to work. However, they said that you still receive all your salary and benefits starting day one, regardless of whether or not you had the ability to work, which is very generous of the company. And it does seem like a lot of people didn't receive their laptop until their second or third week. In my case, I did receive my laptop the Thursday before I started, which is, I guess, day -4. And by day 2, I had access to all my email and whatnot. So it went actually as smoothly as you can expect from a virtual onboarding, I guess. Once I had access to CorpNet, I could order a little bit more equipment I would need to work from home, and I was enrolled onto their onboarding program called GTI, which stands for Google Tech Immersion. It's basically a 3-week-long program where you learn about Google's tech, culture, and developer workflow by working on a project with a number of other new Google employees. This is apparently relatively new, maybe within the last 1.5 to 2 years or so, where in the past you would have to attend a bunch of lectures basically, and this is a lot more hands-on. Now, usually these would happen on-site, but right now everything is done by a mix of video conferencing, internal websites, and pre-recorded sessions from the past. So yeah, it's not as terribly exciting as some people might expect starting a new job at Google might be, but you know what? I'm actually pretty impressed by how smoothly the transition went given the circumstances. And if I'm honest, I'm just grateful to have a job right now. And apparently we'll still get our nuclear hats eventually. But anyway, that's where I'm at with my job right now. So let's move on to something else. Many of you have asked me in my last video, what advice do I have for people whose interviews or start dates got delayed or canceled altogether? First of all, I'm really sorry to hear that. I've had hundreds of rejected applications in my career so far, but I've had the privilege of knowing that there was something to learn from each of these experiences. And even then, it's gut-wrenching every single time. Know that none of this is your fault, and I hope you don't blame yourself for this. If you're watching this, you're most likely working in the tech industry or you aspire to. And this situation is far from ideal, I understand that. But at the same time, try to keep in mind, we are some of the most fortunate in all of this. I mean, we have jobs that we can perform from home, and if you're interviewing, likewise, you can just interview via video conferencing and online code editors. Of course, the problem is that many companies stopped hiring. I mean, I'm very lucky in the sense that I joined Google right before their hiring freeze. But there are still many opportunities out there if you know where to look, and I hope that I can help with this. There are certain sectors in tech right now that have just as much potential during a pandemic, if not more. And if I was looking for a job right now, I'd probably concentrate on the following sectors. Social networking companies like TikTok and Facebook are super important right now in helping friends and family stay connected, and they're still hiring. For example, Facebook announced that they're going to be hiring 10,000 more people through 2020. Video conferencing and cloud companies like Zoom and Microsoft are similarly super important right now in helping coworkers collaborate remotely. For example, Microsoft said on their blog back in late March that their Azure cloud demand is up nearly 800%. Entertainment sector like gaming and streaming services are also doing extremely well right now, like you'd expect, since what else are you going to do when you're stuck at home? And they certainly have the cash flow to keep hiring. Maybe one thing to keep in mind would be that a lot of titles in these companies' portfolio are in production for many years, and so the pandemic is going to slow down the production of their on-launch titles, and they're probably going to be impacted more in the future. I mean, come on, where's Last of Us 2? But on the other hand, with the increased bandwidth usage, infrastructure roles are going to be just as critical as ever. And e-commerce sector has basically become a linchpin right now in the world because more people want to stay home, and both Amazon and Shopify blew away their revenue expectations this quarter. So I guess that would be my first advice. At a broad level, think about which sectors have a more immediate need due to the pandemic, and it'll make your job search a little bit more efficient. But it's going to be more and more difficult to filter out the signal to noise ratio when a lot of companies stop hiring, but they don't keep their job postings up to date. Hacker News has a monthly thread on who's hiring, and so you know that's pretty up to date, and I'll link it in the video description. Keep an eye out on LinkedIn as well. A lot of hiring managers will have "I'm currently hiring" on their profile, and reaching out to them directly is a path of least resistance compared to just throwing your resume at a black box. The adversities of an economic downturn also has the silver lining of weeding out some of the companies that you shouldn't work at. Many of the venture capital funded startups with unsustainable business models that grew too quickly are going to exit the market, and that'll allow job hunters to focus on the companies that you should actually want to work for. I say this because the character of the people at the helm of these companies get revealed by how they react to a crisis like this. And so if you're looking for a job right now, I'd pay close attention to these reactions. I mean, how companies and their leaders treat their employees during a tough situation, and especially, at their own expense, I think is a direct reflection of how much you'll be valued when you work there. And some examples. Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang announced not layoffs, but raises for all employees because he believes that his employees will need the extra cash during these times. Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg announced exceeds expectations rating and bonuses for all employees so that they don't have to worry about their performance on the job and focus on the important things right now, like the mental and physical well-being of themselves and their loved ones. And another thing, the stock market, if it continues to crash, it might seem bad, but for the people in their 20s and 30s, you know what? This is actually a really good thing, right? Because the vast majority of the money that you're going to make in your lifetime, you have yet to make. And you want the markets to go down because your goal should be to buy in more, and you want to buy in at a cheaper rate. And you know what? Things look really rough from 2008 to 2009, I'm sure. But, the people who continue to boost their scales and remain dedicated enjoyed the longest bull run in history. So I think things are going to be fine. So I guess what I'm trying to say is keep your eyes on what's important for now. And that would be your health, both physical and mental, as well as that of your friends and family. And try to keep in mind how fortunate we are in this unfortunate situation, and look forward to the opportunities that are going to emerge from this. If you lost a job offer or a job recently, I'm really sorry. I hope you don't blame yourself for it. And just keep in mind you have many years of your career still ahead of you, and you know what? You have time to work things out. I'll see you in the next one.